Don't come to the wedding. It's a happy day after all. Those words echoed in my mind, a painful reminder of a conversation that still left me reeling. Gabriella, my son's fiancée, had said them so casually, as if it were the simplest request in the world. But for me, it was a dagger to the heart. I had always imagined being part of my son's special day, but now I was being told I was unwelcome. Was it something I had done? Was I truly that unlovable? I tried to push the thoughts away, but they clung to me, relentless and unforgiving. My name is Stella, and I'm 50 years old. I work part-time at the local supermarket, preparing deli items in the kitchen. It's not glamorous work, but it pays the bills and keeps me occupied. My son Daniel started working 4 years ago, so we no longer have to worry about tuition. But the house mortgage still looms over us, with 15 years left to go. So I keep working, day after day, trying to make ends meet. Yesterday, something extraordinary happened. My son, who had been distant lately, made an announcement at dinner. "Mom, Dad, I'm getting married." My heart skipped a beat. Married? It felt like just yesterday he was a little boy, clinging to my hand as we crossed the street. And now he was talking about marriage? My husband and I exchanged glances, both of us caught off guard. Married? Really? Who is she? When did you propose? My husband asked, his voice tinged with excitement. Calm down, Daniel, I said, trying to soothe him, but I was just as curious. So, who is she? She's gentle and kind. Can I bring her over this Sunday? Sunday. That was soon. I nodded, my mind already racing with thoughts of how to prepare the house. I needed to clean, maybe bake some tea cakes, and perhaps even change the living room curtains. I wanted everything to be perfect when my son brought his fiancée home. At work the next day, I couldn't hide my excitement. My colleagues noticed, even with our faces hidden behind large masks in the kitchen. You seem happy? Anything good happened? One of them asked. I blushed, feeling a bit embarrassed. You caught me. My son is getting married. Oh, congratulations. How old is he? He's 27 this year, finally done with parenting, I replied, a weight lifting off my shoulders. Despite everything, I could hardly believe my son was getting married. When Sunday finally arrived, I put on a bit more makeup than usual. I wanted to make a good first impression. As I stood in front of the mirror, I noticed the reddish scar stretching from my right cheek to my ear. I tried to cover it with makeup, but it still stood out. My thoughts wandered back to the fire that caused the scar, a fire that had forever changed my life. It happened when I was in high school. A fire started next door, and though I narrowly escaped, I was left with a permanent reminder of that day. Everyone survived, which was a miracle. But there were times when I wished the flames had taken me. The scar became a symbol of everything I had lost, my confidence, my sense of self-worth, and any hope of finding love. But then there was Daniel, my husband, who never saw the scar as a flaw. We had grown up together, our families closely knit. He visited me every day, offering words of comfort when I was at my lowest. I don't care about the scar. You're still the same beautiful person to me, he would say. At first, I couldn't believe him, but gradually I began to open up. Our bond grew, and eventually we married. He saved me from the darkness that threatened to consume me, and for that, I would always be grateful. Marriage is truly a wonderful thing, I thought as I looked at his broad back. The doorbell rang, pulling me out of my thoughts. My son had arrived with his fiancée. My husband and I greeted them with warm smiles. Welcome, please come in, I said, leading them into the living room. Gabriella was everything my son had described. Calm, kind-hearted, with a radiant complexion and beautiful black hair. She seemed like a good person, and I let out a sigh of relief. So, where are you from? My husband asked, trying to break the ice. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Ah, Charleston! Beautiful views and delicious food. A wonderful place, my husband said. Thank you. What do you do for a living? I drive a taxi, she replied. That's impressive, making a living driving, my husband said gently. Gabriella responded in the same calm manner, and I could see the relief on my son's face. I whispered to him, You've brought such a beautiful person into our lives." "She's way out of my league," he replied, blushing. I wanted to celebrate their future together, but as the conversation continued, I noticed something strange. Gabriella seemed comfortable talking to my husband, but when I tried to engage her, she only offered polite smiles. Our conversation didn't flow as I had hoped. Was she wary of me as her future mother-in-law? I sat there feeling somewhat isolated, wondering what I had done wrong. The day ended without us having a meaningful conversation. I didn't think Gabriella was a bad person, but I felt we just weren't on the same wavelength. Still, I wanted to celebrate their marriage grandly. After all, what matters is that they love each other. Parents shouldn't interfere too much, I decided. The months passed, and as the wedding day approached, I tried to maintain a distant relationship with Gabriella. But then came the phone call that shattered everything. "Hello, Mom." It was my son on the phone. His voice sounded hesitant, as if he were about to deliver bad news. "What's up? Did something happen?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "Well, Gabriella mentioned that Mom was being cold to her. Did something happen?" I was taken aback. Cold? Me? I had tried so hard to be polite and welcoming. "It's not that I'm being cold. You two are newlyweds, and you wouldn't want your mother meddling too much, right?" "That's not true. She said she wants to get along." I was about to protest, but I stopped myself. What was the point? Their wedding was just a few months away, and I didn't want to cause any trouble. I decided to let it go, but the feeling of unease lingered. Then, a week before the wedding, I received another call. This time, it was Gabriella herself. "Hello? Is this Stella?" "Yes, it is. What's going on?" I asked, surprised by the sudden call. "I wanted to talk to you about the wedding. Can you not attend?" Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. "What? Why all of a sudden?" "Your burn scar is disgusting. It's like you're a monster. It would ruin the whole wedding. So can you understand how I feel and not come?" I was speechless. I could barely hold the phone as she continued to pour out her frustrations. She had disliked me from the moment we met, and now she was finally letting it all out. My presence at the wedding would be a stain on her perfect day, and she didn't want me there. "You're telling me to skip the wedding, right?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yes, that's right." "Fine." "Great. Please don't come to the venue on the day. Just say you weren't feeling well." "All right, I'll do that," I replied, barely holding back the tears. I hung up the phone and collapsed onto the couch. Skip the wedding? How could she ask that of me? But with each tear that fell, my resolve grew stronger. If she didn't want me there, then I wouldn't go. I would stay home and let them have their perfect day. But on the day of the wedding, something unexpected happened. As I sat at home, the TV playing in the background, my phone rang. "Hello, mother-in-law? Father-in-law isn't here yet. Wasn't it just you who was supposed to miss?" "Well, Daniel is here at home," I replied, glancing at my husband who was reading in the living room. "It was just a regular day off for us." "What do you mean?" "He suddenly felt unwell. I was just about to let you know," I said, handing the phone to my husband. "Sorry, but I can't make it today. I'm feeling off, just like my wife," he said. "Wait a minute. Father-in-law? A last-minute cancellation?" Gabriella's voice was laced with panic. "Listen, you treated my wife like a monster and forced her to miss. I just don't feel up to attending," my husband replied, his voice calm but firm. I could tell Gabriella was stunned into silence on the other end. "That's how it is, so we won't be attending," my husband said, before hanging up the phone. In that moment, I realized just how much my husband loved me. He had been listening in on the speakerphone when Gabriella had called me earlier in the week. He heard every cruel word she had said, and he refused to let me bear the burden alone. "We are in this together as a couple," he had told me after the call. And now, as I watched him standing up for me, I knew I had made the right choice marrying him. We informed our son in advance that we wouldn't be attending the wedding. We explained everything, and he was shocked to learn about Gabriella's true feelings. The wedding was called off, and instead of a grand ceremony, it became a simple dinner gathering. Our son announced his intention to divorce Gabriella right then and there. Gabriella's parents were outraged at first, but after hearing everything from our son, they apologized profusely and offered to cover all the wedding costs. Gabriella, on the other hand, was devastated. Her dream wedding was ruined, and her marriage ended just a little over a year later. In the end, I couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt. My son's wedding had ended in such a sad way, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was partly to blame. It's okay, Mom. This happened because of my choices. I want a relationship like you and Dad's. I want to trust and support each other, my son told me, his words bringing tears to my eyes. Life is long, and even in tough times, there are always chances for happiness. And as I looked at my son, I knew that he would find his own path to joy, just as